What's up, Vikings Nation? Are you ready for some explosive Minnesota Vikings news that could shake the entire locker room? Because today we're diving into a rumor that, if it became reality, could completely change the direction of this franchise. And trust me, this one is loaded with drama, talent, and serious risk. There's talk swirling about the possibility of the Vikings even considering making a move for TYREEK Hill. Yes, that TYREEK Hill. One of the fastest, most electric receivers of this generation. But before anyone starts imagining bombs downfield at US Bank Stadium, we need to take a deep breath. Because this isn't just about talent. This is about culture. This is about leadership. This is about protecting what the Minnesota Vikings are building right now in Minneapolis. Let's set the stage. The Vikings are already dealing with questions in the wide receiver room. There's talent, yes. But there are also concerns about stability, maturity, and long-term direction. Adding a massive personality like TYREEK Hill into that mix, that could either ignite fireworks in a good way, or blow the whole thing up. And that's exactly why insiders are sounding the alarm. This isn't a simple add a superstar and win situation. It's far more complicated than that. One of the biggest red flags being discussed is Hill's age and health situation. He is about to turn 32 years old. For a speed-based wide receiver whose game depends on explosiveness, that number matters. Reports indicated he was recently dealing with injury issues serious enough to require a walking boot. Even if he's recovering well, durability becomes a real conversation point. The Minnesota Vikings cannot afford to invest heavily in a player whose availability could be a weekly question mark. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Off-field concerns. Throughout his NFL career, Hill has faced multiple legal and personal controversies. These situations have followed him from team to team. When you're trying to build a disciplined, accountable locker room, that history becomes relevant. Especially when you look at who currently leads this receiver group. Because the standard in that room is set by Justin Jefferson. And let's be clear, Justin Jefferson is not just one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's one of the most professional, low-maintenance superstars the league has ever seen. He produces at an elite level. He represents the franchise with class. He leads without drama. That matters in today's NFL more than people realize. There is absolutely no scenario where Hill would threaten Jefferson's leadership. This is JJ's team. This is JJ's locker room. But leadership isn't just about who's the alpha. It's about influence. It's about tone. It's about daily habits. And this is where things get interesting and potentially dangerous. Let's shift to Jordan Addison. The former first-round pick is entering a critical phase of his career. Talent? No question. Production? Solid. But maturity has been a recurring concern. Addison has faced multiple off-field incidents across recent off-seasons, including reckless driving, a DUI arrest, and a misdemeanor trespassing situation. That's not speculation. That's documented reality. And for a 24-year-old still growing into his role, environment matters. If Kevin O'Connell and Justin Jefferson are working to establish accountability, structure, and professionalism, bringing in a player with Hill's history could complicate that mission. Culture is fragile. One misstep can shift momentum. And speaking of O'Connell, let's not forget what happened earlier this season. Addison was benched for the first quarter in a game after missing a walkthrough. That's a coach sending a message. Discipline matters in this building. Accountability matters in Minnesota. So the question becomes, does adding a superstar with baggage reinforce that message or undermine it? Now let's talk quarterback. Because this might be the biggest factor of all. The Vikings are still figuring out their long-term answer under center. J.J. McCarthy has battled injuries in his first 2 seasons and has started only 10 games so far. There have been flashes. There have also been struggles. Development is ongoing. And we all know what kind of receiver TYREEK Hill is. He thrives on volume, attention, and rhythm with his quarterback. If McCarthy is still learning, still growing, still finding consistency, would adding a high-demand superstar accelerate his development? Or increase pressure and volatility? That's a dangerous balancing act. The Minnesota Vikings have also been facing potential depth concerns. including the possible loss of Jalen Naylor. Keeping internal pieces and maintaining continuity might be the smarter financial and cultural move. Sometimes the flashy headline isn't the best decision. Sometimes stability wins championships. And let's be honest, Vikings fans, this team is building something. With Jefferson as the foundation, O'Connell guiding the culture, and young talent developing, the trajectory feels intentional. Throwing a high-risk move into that equation could either be genius or catastrophic. So I want to ask you, Vikings Nation, would you take the gamble? Is the upside of adding a speed demon worth the potential locker room turbulence? Or do you protect the culture, develop your young core, and trust the process? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Would Tyreek Hill make the Minnesota Vikings unstoppable or unstable? If you enjoyed this breakdown of Minnesota Vikings news, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with every Vikings fan you know. Let's keep building this community the same way the Vikings are building this roster. Smart, passionate, and united. Skol.